Today I would like to pick up where Yaz left off, and I'll share with you on the political journey. It's actually, Winston Churchill once said, they're not the enemy, they're the opposition. The enemy's here. A lot of politics is actually internal, and it's actually easier for Yaz and I to have a relationship than sometimes we have with our own people in our own sides. And it's great to see. It's great to see Yaz here today. But in thinking about what I would like to share from a business perspective, and I've been a small business owner, I've worked in large corporates, now been in politics, and I've seen a vast array. One of the differences between what I see as the private sector and the public sector, and something to be mindful of, is that a good business is one that can make sound judgments in the grey space. But in the public sector, what you'll find is that bureaucrats can't operate in the grey at all. It has to be black and white. And for it to be black and white, they create additional regulatory burden for everybody else. So when you see a growing regulatory burden from government, it's because they're trying to make it black and white, when successful businesses actually navigate the grey space quite successfully. And one of the challenges that on both sides of politics has is actually simplifying the realm of information and the bureaucracy to make it easier for you to run your business. And you have to say, and I think history would show that we haven't been fantastic at that. We continually have increasing levels of bureaucracy and regulatory burden, and it's something that both sides of politics must continually strive to attend to make it easier for small businesses to operate. Because that is one of the challenges that I see that we need to continue to fight for you. Again, irrespective of which side of politics you come from, we have to continually challenge that issue. One of the things in thinking forward, where are we going in Western Australia? What's happening, and what can the government do to make life easier for business people in Western Australia? And I look at it from a broader economic perspective about the challenges that we face. I believe we live in one of the best places in the world in Western Australia to live and raise a family. And when you look at the weather, particularly days like today, it's just magic. But I think there's a lot of things that we can do a lot better from an economic perspective, and therefore for supporting businesses in our community. And one of those areas that I'll just focus on three aspects, but one of them is in the space of the cost of energy. We have an abundance of wind. We have an abundance of sunshine. We are one of the world's largest producers of natural gas. And yet, I believe our energy costs are way too high. For households, they're the second highest charge in Australia. And if you look at the last few years, they've increased faster than any other state in Australia. So it does pose a challenge. Small businesses in Western Australia in a 2-year period, 20,000 small businesses faced over 40% increase in their power charges. And I don't believe that's good enough for Western Australia, and it's something that we need to continually strive for. We must embrace technology, embrace innovation, but we must work out ways that we can open up our energy markets so that it's cheaper, not just for households, but for small businesses. And if we are serious about attracting industry to Western Australia, we will never compete with the rest of the world on wages. And I don't think we should. I don't believe we should even try, because we have one of the best standards of living in the world. And I believe that every citizen in Western Australia should have that opportunity to live in one of the best places in the world in a way that we can all experience. And so therefore, if it's not on wages that we need to compete, then we must embrace innovation, we must embrace technology and support automation of industries. But to attract industry here, we must get that cheap energy for them. If we can have cheap energy, then we can start to really seriously consider downstream processing and how that flows through from large business right the way through to small business. And I think that that's something that needs a lot of work, again, from both sides. This is not trying to say Labor, Liberal, it's trying to say what's the future direction of Western Australia and what do we need to strive for. In addition to that, I look at another area that it's extremely important to us. When you listen to politicians during election cycles, they'll often talk to you about the need to diversify the economy. And again, both sides, Labor and Liberal, both constantly say we need to broaden the economy, we need to diversify. What they fail to do is tell you how they're going to do it. And often, more often than not, we end up with the same situation that we've always had. If you have a look at the contribution from our mining sector in Western Australia, it's huge. And the reality is, if you look at the current prices of gold and iron ore, they're as high as they've ever been in Australian dollar terms. And the revenue that's being generated from iron ore is massive. We actually forecast a price of $66.20 for this financial year. Currently, it's averaging over $112. This is US price. For every dollar, it adds $85 million to the bottom line budget of the state government, for every dollar. In 2015-16, we averaged $52 and we're sitting at $126 today. If you look at what impact that has, it's huge. But our reliance on it is a concern for me, as is our dependence on the sole trading, well, the primary trading partner. And that primary trading partner is with China. Now, it's an extremely important relationship for Western Australia, but it is also extremely important that we learn how to establish stronger trading relationships with other countries in the neighbouring area. And for me, with the emerging economies in India and the growing population in India, the future relationship between Australia and India, I believe, is extremely important. And we need to foster that. We need to foster it better than what we've done in the past. And I call on everybody here, particularly with the relationship with ISWA, that to push the government, to push both sides of politics, that it's extremely important that we foster those relationships and foster greater trade between Australia and particularly Western Australia and India. And so they're the sort of things I wanted to put out, taking Yaz's focusing on the small business to looking a bit forward into the future about what we're required to focus on. So if I just summarise those three things that I was looking at, one, the trading relationship, I believe can grow and grow strongly. I believe that there's some fantastic opportunities in Western Australia to export to India, and I'm sure that equally there's important services and products that Australia require from India. And no one knows that relationship better between Australia and India than the Indian community that's living here in Australia. And so I think there's a massive opportunity for you to help us to forge that relationship and to grow and strengthen those ties. And finally, as I said before, I believe that energy must play a critical role in the success of the future of Western Australia's economy. And we must strive to look at how not only can we create cleaner environment, but cheap energy so that industry can succeed. We support automation, innovation, technology, get that cheap energy, and I believe that most businesses have the opportunity to prosper. And finally, that red and green tape, the more that we can do to streamline government processes and bureaucracy so that you can get on and do what's important, which is run your own business without the interference of government, the better for everybody. Thanks very much.